Let's open our eyes. Just start with a pretty generic warm up right here. Just wrists, fingers, wrists the other way. Fingers only go the one way. And elbows, extend the arms out and then bend them. Tap the shoulders. Keep the elbows lifted if possible. And just opening and closing the arms here. Next time your fingers are at the shoulders, open the elbows out and draw circles with your elbows. And circles the other direction. Open up both arms at shoulder height, palms face up, and then flex the wrist so that the fingers point down-ish. Both hands, press the palms out, spread the fingers, and then like you are waving, rotate the arms as far as they go comfortably in both directions. And relax, let the arms come down. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down a few times. And then move the opposite direction a few times as well. Let's find a neck releasing posture. So reach your left hand out to the left side and put it on the ground and tilt your right ear over towards the right shoulder. Nod your head gently, yes. Don't take your head too far back. It's safe to take your chin very far forward though. Lift your head back up to center, and we'll do the same on the other side, reaching the right arm out, putting the fingertips on the ground, and then tilting the left ear towards the left shoulder, and then gently nodding your head yes. Bring your head back to center. Bring the chin down towards the chest and let it move across the chest each side. So just drawing a half circle between the left shoulder and the right shoulder. And after maybe one or two more times, bring your head back up to neutral. We're going to move on to our hands and knees. So however you get there is correct. Maybe rolling over the shins or shifting the knees around the side. And just set yourself up with a pretty neutral position. So stack the joints as best as possible. And then let the hips rock a little side to side, stretching out the side of the hip, maybe the side of the body. Bring the hips back over the knees and then start arching and rounding the back. So important thing to notice is the movement of the head. Try and keep it pretty neutral as you inhale. Lift the tailbone up, bring the belly down, and pull the chest forward without craning the head back. And exhale and tuck the tailbone under, round up the spine, press up and away from the mat. Drop your head. And continue between these two movements with your breath. And after the next time you round up and away from the mat, let the hips move back towards the heel, and you can step the knees a little wider apart if you like. Walk your hands forward and let yourself rest into a child's pose so your head can hang down towards the mat. Soften the arms and just take a moment with your breath. See if you can move breath into the belly and then to the small of the back. And just a reminder, a child's pose can look a lot of different ways. It's not a requirement that your hips are all the way back on the heels or that your head is all the way down on the mat. Let's use the next breath or two. Bring yourself back up onto the hands and knees, and then step your hands out in front of the shoulders if they're not already there. Tuck the toes under. Keep the knees bent, lift them up, and press back. So our chest moves back towards the thighs. Lift your hips up, and then start to extend one leg. Doesn't matter which one's first. Bend that leg again and straighten the other. Kind of like pedaling a bicycle, just switching back and forth, stretching out the back of the legs to the calves. Use your next few breaths. Let's take it slow. All right, start walking towards your hands. So step the feet forward, actively lift away from the mat. Now you can stop short of your hands and lengthen, lift about half. Exhale, soften the knees and fold down. Drop your head. And our knees are soft enough that we can rest our torso on the thighs and let go of the neck. Bend the knees generously, push down through the feet, and unroll. So rounding up the back until the shoulders come over the hips, and then stretch the arms up. And then exhale, release, and let the arms come down by your sides. And then step open to a long stance on your mat. So we're going to take a pretty wide stance, wider than your shoulders, and then turn the heels a little in, right? So not so much turn out that you can't hold balance. Right now, my toes are aimed at the corners of the mat. Then bend the knees, make little C shapes with the hands and put them just above the knees, cupping the thighs, lean forward, and then take in one side of the chest and then the other. Keep the hips moving back so we're not pressing forward. Let's keep our knees bent basically as they are. Come to center and then bring one hand down and then the other. Think about trying to get your hips in a straight line with the shoulders. And we're going to lift our hips up. And as you do, shift the heels so they move behind the toes. So as you straighten the legs, hips go up, heels move out, and fold down. Doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to have your head on the ground. Your hands can be very supportive underneath the shoulders. Just lean in towards the front of the foot. Feel how that might be different. You could walk your hands back if that felt as supportive. If you walked your hands back, Walk them back forward, lifting the torso away from the mat. Now we're going to shift our heels in again, and we're returning to that same position. So toes will point towards the outside corners of the mat. Bend the knees, drop the hips down. Bring the hands back up to the knees. And same, lean forward with the chest, bring in one side, and then the other. And we'll work towards a pose, goddess pose. So tuck your tailbone under, lift your torso upright, and take your arms off of the legs at shoulder height, maybe like cactus arms. Take a full breath in. Then exhale, stand up. Same with the feet. Turn the heels behind the toes, arms to shoulder height. Take a deep, full breath in. And then exhale, let the arms come down by your sides. Keep your wide stance. We'll practice Trikonasana. So line the left foot outside edge with the back of the mat and turn the right heel in. So you have a heel to instep alignment. Lift your arms to shoulder height. Shift your left hip back and stretch forward. And then pivot at the shoulders. Notice if your head is lifting up or dropping down. Try and keep it neutral, and then turn the head around the top of the neck to look up. Bend the right knee pretty generously. Push to lift up, and then we'll pivot the feet. So the outside edge of the right foot lines up with the outside of the mat, short edge of the mat. And then turn the left heel in, heel to instep alignment. Shift your right hip back, stretch the left arm forward, and then pivot at the shoulders. Bend the left knee, lift yourself upright, pivot all the way towards the front of the mat, step forward, bring your arms down by the side. Take a full breath in, reach both arms up. Exhale, soften both knees and fold forward. Inhale, lift half, flatten the back. Exhale, step back and find a plank. Pause in your plank, center for your strength. Take another breath in. And then use the exhale, press the hips up and back, lengthen the spine and downward facing dog. Use your next breath in. Let's move back forward. Step the feet towards the hands and lift actively away from the mat. Flatten the back. Exhale, soften the knees and fold down. Inhale, come all the way up. Reach up towards the ceiling. And exhale, let both arms come down by your side. Do the same thing again. Inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale and fold forward. Inhale, lift half, flatten the back. Exhale, step both feet back to a plank. So shoulders stay over the wrists and both feet move back as far as they can. Take a full breath in. And this time, let's bring the knees straight down. Move yourself slightly forward. Bend the elbows as you lower all the way down to the mat. Keep the hips grounded. Lift up and back. Heart reaches forward. Exhale. Press up onto the knees. Tuck the toes under and lift the hips up and back. Use our next breath to start to come forward. It can be more than one breath. Step your feet towards your hands, lengthen the spine, flatten the back. Exhale, soften and fold down. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Reach your arms up. Exhale, let both arms come down by your side. Adding on, inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale and fold forward. Inhale, lift half, flatten the back. Exhale, step back to a plank. Pause in your plank, take a breath in, and then use your exhale to make a transition to downward facing dog. It can be directly, right? Or we can bring the knees down, move through the same series of poses as we just did. Or if there's another way that makes sense in your body, we always have that option as long as it feels safe and beneficial. Thinking for yourself is encouraged, and we can make a different choice every time. We're never stuck doing the same thing. From downward facing dog, let's bring our right foot forward. So left knee finds the mat first, and then step the right foot through. Tuck the left toes under and lift your left knee up. So hands stay grounded, lengthen the back leg, lift the heart forward. And push down the front heel and help yourself upright. So your arms can stay down by your sides, at the knee, or all the way up towards the ceiling. Anywhere in between there is also okay and welcome. Use your next exhale to put two hands down on the mat. Step the right foot back. Take a breath in. And make your transition, either directly or eventually. We find downward facing dog and enjoy a few rounds of breath there. And step the left foot forward. So let's bring right knee down first, step the left foot through, and take the right knee up. So tuck the back toes under, lift the knee up, stretch long. Prepare for your crescent lunge, lifting the torso upright. Hands can stay down by your side. Move to the knee or stretch up towards the ceiling. Use your next exhale. Put both hands down on the mat. Step back to a plank. Take a breath in and use the exhale to make your transition. Let's use our next few breaths. Come forward, step towards the hands, lengthen and lift. Exhale, soften and fold all the way down. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Stretch both arms up. And exhale, let both arms come down. Close the eyes. Just take a moment here to observe. Open your eyes. Inhale, move to Utkatasana. So bend the knees, put the hips back and down. As you do, take the weight back in the heels so the toes could easily lift off the mat. They don't have to be lifted. When you set them down, just make sure they stay light. Use the glutes. Make sure that if your feet are apart, the knees are tracking with the toes, so not buckling in, or the feet can be together. Both are correct ways to practice. Take another breath in, and then exhale to fold forward. Inhale, lift about half. Exhale, step the right foot back to a lunge. So our left knee stays over the ankle. Pivot down the right foot so your toes point out to the long edge of the mat. Before you come up, look at your left heel. Is it lined up with the instep of the right foot? And then come up like you're doing a cartwheel. Lead with the right arm forward and up. Find Virabhadrasana 2 and check in with the low back. Notice if you have a straight line from the knee to the hip, or if they're pushing back, make a diagonal knee or a diagonal line. Try and tuck the tailbone under. Keep your front knee stacked over the ankle. Arms to shoulder height. And same like in triangle, pull the head back and turn the head to look over the front middle finger. Use your next breath out. Put two hands down on the mat, pivot up on the back foot, and step to a plank. Take a breath in, and use the exhale to find your transition that takes you to downward facing dog. make the same pose with the right foot forward. So let's use an inhale. Start to bring the right foot between the hands. You can use the same knee down trick if you'd like. Once your right knee is over the ankle, pivot down the left foot and check the alignment. Right heel to left instep. Reach the left arm forward and come up, opening the hips and the shoulders. Check in with the low back. Is it pushing out behind you? Is your rib cage flaring forward? Think about the top of your hip drawing towards the bottom of your ribs. Pull the head straight back, and then turn the head to look over the front, middle finger. Take a full breath in. And exhale. Two hands come down to the mat, pivot up on the back foot. Step to your plank. Take a breath. Same transition or making a different one. Find your way downward facing dog, perhaps through a series of poses or headed directly there. Let's come back to the top. Inhale, stepping forward, lengthening the spine. Exhale, softening and folding down. Keeping weight towards the front of the foot. Drop your head, relax the body. Move to Utkatasana. So use your next breath in, lengthen and lift about half of where you're at. Then exhale, bend the knees and shift weight back to the heels. Reach your arms in front of you and then up towards the ceiling. Take another deep breath in. And then exhale, stand and bring your arms down. Full inhale. And exhale, let the breath go. Inhale, reach both arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, soften the knees to fold. Inhale, lift half, flatten the back. Exhale, step back to downward facing dog. However you get there is correct. Take the right leg up behind you, point the toes, then bend your right knee, bring it in towards the chest and roll forward like to a plank. So shoulders move over the wrist, keep the knee hugged in. Inhale again. Extend the right leg up and back. Press towards a three-legged dog. Exhale, bring the knee in, round forward, lift up between the shoulders. So kind of like in cat pose at the beginning of class. One more inhale to stretch back up. And then exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. So stack the right hip on top of the left. Try and keep the shoulders even with each other. And another exhale. Bring the right knee to the ground, right behind the right thumb. And then turn the shin to cross the mat and start letting the hips move back and towards the ground evenly. So if it's feeling like it's pushing you off to the right, maybe a blanket or a block underneath the right hip will make this a little more stable, a little more grounded. Lift the heart forward and up. Maybe lift up onto your fingertips. So we're not resting into our arms, really working towards keeping ourselves lifted using the muscles of the back. Use your next exhale. Bring yourself forward. So maybe now we are resting on the hands, or maybe now we're resting on the elbows, or even deeper, you could walk the arms out in front of you and rest your whole body on the ground. Elbows is fine. I'm going to stay here so I'm not covering my microphone. If you are down on the elbows or even further, start to walk the hands back towards the body. So we kind of lift away from the mat a bit. Keep the hands still out in front of the shoulders. Tuck your left toe under and lift up and back. So you can step with the right foot, find downward facing dog, and just take a moment to feel into your body. So maybe letting the hips sway or bend one knee and then the other. Maybe press the chest down towards the mat, sinking in between the shoulder blades, however is comfortable. And then reestablish downward facing dog. And we'll work through the same postures on the left side. So pointing the left toes back, stretching up. Bending the left knee, slowly bring it in towards the body. Roll the shoulders forward, over the wrists, round the upper back. Pull the nose towards the knee. Inhale and extend up, straighten the left leg, point the toes. Exhale again, bring the knee in, roll forward. Shoulders move over the wrist, lift up between the shoulder blades. Inhale again, press the left leg up. Exhale, bring the knee in, roll forward. Inhale again, extend the leg up and then bend the knee and open the hips. Try and keep the shoulders even with each other. Next, exhale. We'll bring the left knee behind the left thumb, put it on the ground, and then turn the shin so it crosses across the mat. Any angle is okay. Diagonal is probably going to be the safest for the knee. And then find some grounding. So maybe using a prop, or maybe just letting the hips settle down and back. Maybe being up on the fingertips. And start to walk forward. So resting on the hands, maybe on the elbows, maybe even further. Walking your arms out, kind of like a child's pose, with the upper body letting the head rest down towards the mat, wherever is comfortable, right, and maybe feels beneficial. Use your hands to lift up and away from the mat. And then this time, instead of moving to downward facing dog, shift over towards the left, bring the right leg around in front of you, and then extend both legs out. You can adjust, maybe move some of the flesh away from the sitting bones, reach forward for the big toes. If you get the big toes, that's wonderful, but so is something that's closer to the ankles or the shins or even the knees. Sitting straight upright is already a forward fold. So if we could move even just a little bit deeper, wherever we're holding, foot, leg, chin, right, we're holding for leverage to lengthen and lift the heart forward. And as you exhale, folding forward. So towards the feet is more important than towards the ground. Ultimately, many things can be true all at the same time. So we could be moving towards the feet and the mat, but focusing more on forward. Shoulders together, lengthen the spine. Pull the low belly up and in. Use your next breath in. Recommit to that long spine. Lift about halfway from where you're at. And then exhale to release and sit all the way up. Put the hands behind you. And then bend the knees so the soles of the feet are on the ground. And then look in between the feet. Make sure that the toes are pointed towards the front of the mat and that they're roughly hip distance apart. So fingers facing forward is the way that I would normally teach it, but if there was any reason why out to the side felt better, you can do that as well. Or somewhere in between, right? So not quite forward, not quite out to the side. Push down the feet and tuck the tailbone under, and then lift the hips up. So working towards finding a straight line between the knees and the hips and the shoulders. Keep the head supported, so not dropping back. And it's okay for the hips to be down a little bit. It's okay to not quite be able to lift all the way straight up there. There's a lot of reasons why that might be the case. The effort is the pose. Any bit of the pose is indeed the pose. So you are already doing it correctly as long as it feels safe and productive and comfortable in your body. As long as you can breathe and concentrate. Take a deep breath. And use the exhale. Let the hips come down. Extend the legs in front of you. And let's fold forward again, reaching forward. Lengthen the spine, same as we just did. Exhale and fold in. Use an inhale to lift about half. Exhale to release and come all the way up, and we'll move on to our back. So you can bend the knees and move your hips forward towards the heels, and then walk yourself back or hold the shins and rock back. However we get back, we put the knees in towards the body. Maybe letting this be a gentle pulsing, bringing the knees in, and then releasing some of that pressure. Let's move our hands in between the knees to hook the outside edge of the feet. Okay, outside edge of the feet, or maybe holding onto the ankles, or maybe holding behind the knees. But we want a deep bend to the knees so the soles of the feet more or less are facing up. Knees are more or less pointing down. Back of the head grounded. Maybe lift your head up for a second. Look in front of you. Then try and set down the very back of the head. Feel good to press your tailbone or your sacrum down into the mat. Let both legs float up towards down by your side. It's okay for your knees to be soft. Okay? And if you'd like more support, then adding something underneath of your hips, maybe your hands slide easily under there, will make this a little less strenuous. So even if you can do it, even if you can do it relatively easily, see about making it a little more easeful here at the end of practice. You'll still get all the benefits of inversion without it being the hardest thing that we've ever done. It doesn't have to be forceful. When and if you need a little break from this pose, it's okay to just bend the knees, bring the heels down, and then extend them back up when that feels doable. Let's bend our knees and put the feet on the ground. If there's anything underneath of your hips, you can lift them and remove that. And then set the hips down on the ground. Maybe let the knees move a little side to side. You can move the arms out of the way, maybe towards shoulder height. And then use the next maybe minute, maybe two, just to find what your body needs to feel ready for Shavasana. So however you can bring some stillness, you might be ready for it, right? So putting something under the knees or covering the body is a great way to feel ready for Shavasana. But maybe there's a twist or a hip stretch, some other inversion that felt good, something you've been working on or practicing and feel safe and warmed up to try. All these things are welcome here. And then when you're ready to find Shavasana, please make yourself comfortable. begin to find some small movements returning to the body. Start small with the fingers and the toes. Let this movement gain some momentum little by little. Eventually, it can carry you onto your side. Rest there for some time and then use your hands to come up to seated, and just taking this moment to observe. Maybe bringing some intention here at the end of practice. Or we can say we've had our practice, maybe there's a little bit more clarity on our day, our feelings, our situations. Maybe this intention helps bring our practice from the mat into our lives. Let's move our hands in front of the heart. And we'll close with the sound of Om one time and 3 Shantis. Exhale. Inhale. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.